Hello guys, welcome to today's video. Today we'll be talking about the next steps after you've just completed the tutorial. So, you've just finished your tutorial. Now you're greeted with the normal menu screen. In this screen you will notice a few things. You will normally be asked which game mode to play, in this case either Bounty Hunt or Bounty Clash, which is a more PvP focused kind of King of the Hill game mode, where there's one bounty token and 5 teams in trios fight over the token. I'd suggest you stick to random contract slash bounty hunt, since it's much better for learning the real hunt game mode. Clash can be good for PvP due to the fact that it's very chaotic, but I would not pick it. Now, the first thing you would do is, if you need to, recruit a hunter. You do that by clicking on the hunter's roster or on the recruit hunter button that is at the bottom. Then when you arrive in this screen, you'll be greeted by the option to either recruit a free hunter, which I'd suggest for the beginning, since they come with okay weapons but are missing, for example, a few consumables. More to that in a second. Free hunters usually cover all categories of weapons, from hard hitting to reliable, to a shotgun or a bow, and to a combination loadout of 2 weapons. For example, here we have a pistol precision variant with a shotgun for close range. All of them come with a melee tool and medkits, which are the bare minimum. Some of them come with a dynamite, a Molotov, or a syringe. I'd suggest recruiting all hunters even if you don't use them, so that you can have the syringes to go when you play with your hunters. More important as well is the fact that they only come with basic perks. Usually it's something like Horde Skin or Self Skin, as shown here. Maybe Bloodless. The thing is, these hunters don't come with multiple perk points. To achieve that, we have to go to the other roster. The other roster consists of paid hunters. These hunters can either be acquired, in some cases, by battle passes, events, shop-like listings, or they can be bought in the form of DLC. You will also be given free hunters that you can get. For example, Ambrose Hazen here, who comes in 3 stages. When you buy a hunter of your choice, be it either a paid item or something you can earn for free, there is unique variants. There is some skins that come with a basic variant and upgraded variant, such as Ambrose here, who upgrades himself into being more stealthy slash fitting into the dark environment of Hunt more. And there is skins that already have a preset rarity and cannot be further upgraded. An example of that is our good friend Otis over here. He is a skin that you unlock later on and you can buy. He's already pretty good due to his dark clothing, but he cannot be upgraded in his ranks. Once you've picked the hunter you want to play, you're greeted with the loadout screen as well. These paid hunters don't come with any weapons. And now you may think, oh well, that's bad. But here is the thing. While they do not come with beginner tier weapons, they do come with 10 points for traits. I mean, especially when you're starting out, there's only a few traits you will have access to. So, for example, Quartermaster, Bloodless, Necromancer, those kinds of traits are the ones that you're going to be having access to. And I'd suggest as a beginner, you primarily focus on getting Determination, Necromancer to revive fallen teammates from a range at least once, and Doctor, as well as Pack Mule. The reason why is quite simple. Doctor allows medkits to heal 100 HP instead of 50, which is a very useful trait to have. Pack Mule gives you 2 consumables back when looting an enemy hunter, which is great for filling up your inventory and earning money instead, or getting more supplies if you're using your consumables pretty heavily. Once you've selected your perks for 10 points, your paid hunter is set up in that regard. There are obviously recommendations, for example for using weapon-based perks such as Iron Eye, but these depend on the weapon and the rank you're at, because for example Iron Eye is needed for weapons such as the Frontier, but only unlocks at level 9. Now we get to kitting out your hunter. If you already watched my first video, you will know that I recommended using the Frontier. Because the Frontier or the Ranger, for example, are good due to the fact that they don't cost much. The Frontier only costs $41 in its base variant and are pretty solid since it gets a lot of custom ammos and is very versatile because of that. You can access skins by pressing the tab key, allowing you to see which skins you have or buying some if you need to. And you can also press the shift key to open an action menu. Here you can assign charms, equipment animations, compare the item to different guns, check the ammunition, and look at the 3D item. We're going to be looking at the ammo. When looking at the ammo, you obviously have different ammo types that you can choose from. Each of them has their upsides and downsides. I'd suggest for a start though, you do not pick any custom ammo, and if you do pick one, you go with FMJ. But my suggestion is wait with using custom ammo and then only switch to it once you've gotten familiar with the guns, since custom ammo is harder to come by and also can't be resupplied from every ammo box that you find, only the special ammo boxes that are purple. After choosing your weapon, in this case the Frontier, you also need to choose a secondary. This can either be done with a melee weapon, like the baseball bat, axe or saber, or you can choose an additional pistol. The important thing is that you need to remember that you should try to balance the weapons that you have with you. For example, a good starter pistol can be either the New Army, let me find it real quick, here, or the good old Nagant Officer. These are double action pistols, meaning that they have a high fire rate, but they only fire compact ammo, which doesn't do as much damage. When using these pistols, do remember that they have higher recoil, since they are still revolvers, they are not semi-autos. This means that while you can fire them fast, you gotta decide when to aim and when to just hip fire because of the range you're given. After selecting a pistol that you like, you move on to the tools. My general recommendation, especially if playing multiplayer with randoms or your friends, is take the brass knuckles or the dusters, then followed by a medkit, which is a bare necessity, and then by something to burn. You will initially only get the flares / fusees. These are good enough to burn enemy bodies, but they obviously aren't as ranged as the flare gun. Once you unlock the flare gun, I'd suggest switching to that due to the fact that while it only gets 3 shots, it does get more range, which makes it more useful. Since burning is one of the primary ways to knock an enemy hunter out of the fight after they're downed and apply pressure to the enemy team to do something. After you've chosen what you need, in this case for example the burning tool, we come to the final slot. This depends on what you play. If you play solo, you can for example take traps, decoys or similar utility, perhaps even throwing knives or a derringer as a backup. When you're playing duos or trios though with friends, I'd suggest you bring the choke bombs. The reason being that choke bombs allow you to put out fires, clear poison, force enemy hunters to cough, area deny, block explosives and fire nades, and similar utility. They are a very powerful tool. You just need to bring them. And I sadly don't see all people bringing choke bombs. They often switch from soloing to playing with randoms, but keep their solo loadouts. So my recommendation for a solid experience is that you always bring choke bombs to ensure that you can save your teammates without having to run up to them, and also be able to save them in poison or when a Molotov has been thrown, which you can't just run through to extinguish them. Okay, now we've settled all the tools, and I'm gonna go through them again. Dusters, medkit, flare gun or fusees, and choke bombs. Now we get to the consumables. Consumables are usually either healing items or utility, as well as offensive tools. For a start, I'd recommend you grab a weak vitality shot because it allows you to much quicker heal 75 HP compared to the medkit. Then I'd also suggest running a weak regeneration shot. This gives you passive regeneration for 4 minutes, only being interrupted if you take damage. This means that by just waiting in cover for a bit, you don't need to use a vitality shot, or a med kit if the enemy isn't straight up pushing you. Next, you still have 2 slots left, and these can be filled by one of 2 things. You can either take a Molotov to ensure that you can burn bodies and the enemy can't just run up to them and extinguish them, or you can run explosives like a dynamite stick. The choice is up to you. Alternatively, if you say that I'm not really good with offensive throwables, or you've noticed that you're not really good with them, you can either run something like the Beetles, which you do need to unlock with higher level though, or you can run utility boxes such as a toolbox, medical pack, or ammo box, depending on what the team needs. Alternatively, you can also run stamina or antidote shots, which are both great. Stamina allows you to keep up the pursuit for the duration of the shot, making you a formidable foe when chasing down a bounty or enemy. And antidote shots prevent you from getting poisoned, which is pretty powerful, since poison is one of the prime reasons you will die in close range due to the fact that poison blocks you from healing for 10 to 15 seconds, which is a lot in hunt time. So my recommendation is take an antidote shot if you're not sure in your offensive skills, or see if your team potentially needs any help in regards to ammo, health, or tools. If you do those things right, you will automatically have a much better experience and have a greater start. Another important thing to remember when you start into your first matches, permadeath isn't activated. Permadeath, just like in games like Tarkov, means that if you die with your character, you lose everything. The loot you've gained and the money. This is especially important because unless you have the perk Death Cheat, you will not get your character back. Death Cheat allows you to keep your character, but without its gear, meaning that you at least keep those precious levels / perk points. Otherwise, you will lose everything. The same also applies to the match timer running out, which may happen in very intense matches. You should also remember that Crytek has since update 2.4 added AI hunters. These hunters will only show up till level 11 from your initial playthrough and will help you understand the game. My advice is you use these AI hunters to learn sounds, learn movements, and learn guns. Practice aiming on them, check how footsteps sound, which sound means, how to fight bosses, how to defend yourself when being surprised at a boss layer, stuff like this. You should always try to use these moments to learn. Up to level 11 you can die plenty of times, and you can also focus on learning the sounds. The bots aren't perfect, but they still teach you a lot about the game that is passive before you go into the real deal. Fighting real people will automatically be much harder due to Hunt's unforgiving nature. This means that you should already know, for example, what footsteps mean what materials sound like, and how to approach certain situations. They will not teach you the perfect thing, but they will at least give you a hand till you can start learning yourself. Anyway, have a nice day, and we'll see each other in the next guide.